So maybe you can just give your insights on to what it entails to be an active citizen. What does it mean when you're told, I want you to be an active citizen? What does it mean for you?
So being an active citizen in Kenya means taking up opportunity as they arise, yeah, and getting involved in the nitty-gritties of managing our country, which is like the Kenya Youth Fund that was released just the other day. Youth have been given an opportunity to empower themselves. You know, when you're talking about the SDGs, like zero hunger, no poverty, it starts there.
Yeah.
It starts with you taking up the opportunities that have been put in place for you and running with it. So if the youth are ignoring opportunities that are there, you know, it is making the work of zero hunger and zero poverty and managing inequality that much harder.
Yeah. True.
Because if the women are not taking up their role in society, if the men are not taking up their role, if the youth are not taking up their role in society, how are we going to manage to achieve the SDGs?
Yeah, true.
Another thing is participation, community participation. You see, there are these NGOs all over the country. There are these government projects all around the country, but the community is not participating. It is seen as a political move to participate in a certain project
or things for what you am
Yes, especially when it involves a political leader who you do not align yourself to, or another one who you align yourself to. Bringing politics into development is something good and dangerous at the same time. Yeah. Because politics will inform you. But at the same time, if you align yourself towards one person or you de-align yourself from another person, it makes it harder for you to be able to even benefit from it. So the youth need to stop politicizing everything.
Yes.
What they need to do is look at the opportunity. How can I benefit from it? No matter how little or how small it is. Like the youth fund, go take a loan. Meet your friends, come together, decide on a project that you want to work on. By doing that small thing that looks very insignificant to the rest of the country, you're actually contributing towards achieving the goal.
I think Anna has put it well out and clear, and I like the fact that she said we need to participate, throw ourselves out there and take these opportunities. One of the misconceptions we've had about the youth fund is that nasikianga hizo pesa watu hawapewi ama azipeanwi nasikianga. Can you just quit that mentality of kusikianga? I always tell people, why don't you go venture out, try out, and then get your own testimony? But if you want to stay there, wewe ni mtu wa nasikianga, you will keep wondering what's happening to people around you. Why is everyone growing and why is everyone unasikia tu watu wanapata hizi vitu, and you won't know what's happening if you don't get out there and try. So let's get back to Andrew. Let's get to understand what his interpretation of being an active citizen entails.
Okay, being an active citizen, I think, is a lot what Anne had mentioned. For me, it mainly involves finding out what's in your area of influence. So you'll find that every day when you watch news or when you hear about anything, you'll find there's so many things that you might not have a direct influence over. So most things that are political, for example, if the scandal happens, you really don't have any input to stopping it or changing the narrative. However, there are many things in your life that you can find out of. You can have direct impact on, and you can start changing. I don't know if most of you will appreciate the importance of mentorship in your life. So you can easily go and mentor people in high school, your people in your community. There you have direct influence over that generation, and you start creating change. And also, I'll encourage most of us, especially the youth, to also start reading most of these documents and these policies and the plans that the government puts forward for the country and everyone. I know, I do. It's really, really boring. Like, it's, you feel like it feels like you're retaking a textbook. But what you learn can really empower you. For example, I discovered just next to our ancestral home, they are building a new international airport. Now that's something that now changes the dynamic there, and that's something I can start educating my family on how to better utilize that opportunity. I would not have known if I hadn't read. And all these things are in the newspapers, they're in the government posts. And yes, basically, even if one out of every of the government's 10 projects happen, that one will have a significant change. On your life. For example, even the SGR was started being planned as early as 2003, if I'm not wrong, along with Thika Superhighway. So if you had known this information, if you had read about it, you'll have known about it and you'll be able to better utilize the opportunity. So if you're ignorant, it will certainly not help you. So I think being an active citizen is focus on what you can actually control and make sure you're as informed as humanly possible.
So perhaps another thing I would like to add, in addition to what Andrew and Anne have said, it's the way us, especially the young people, we have been, so many generations have had hope in us that we are the generation that maybe will tackle tribalism in our country. And one of the ways perhaps you can be a better active citizen in the country, for me, I always feel it's when we don't look at issues through a political lens. Have you guys noticed that whenever there's an opinion poll, maybe by Ipsos or one of those other firms, and they're asking the country, which way do you feel like the country is headed in the right direction, those allied to the government always say yes.
Yes.
Those in the opposition always say no. And then you wonder, you want to lie because you're being asked, because it's your person, ni mtu wako, ako kwa serikali. But ukishamalizana na hiyo poll, unaenda kupambana na hali yako, where you're going to sleep hungry, you're still going to be jobless. So if you're being asked whether the country is going in the right direction and it's not, do not be afraid of saying it's not just because mtu wako is in power. Exactly. So it doesn't matter first if you elected the sitting government or not. As a citizen of this country, by the fact that you pay taxes, you're entitled to public services. Okay, and that involves good infrastructure, quality healthcare, and all these other things, quality education. So you are entitled as a citizen, and it doesn't matter whether this is your person or you belong to the same party or is from your community. What matters is the services that you're getting, that you're entitled as a citizen of this country. Yes. So in closing, as we close, I would want Andrew to take us through sustainable cities, because we are in Nairobi and sustainable cities is one of the SDGs. So we just want to understand. I also want to learn more. What does this entail? The other day we saw our governor Mike Sonko in, was it London?
In New York.
In New York, and yeah, he was representing. So let's get to hear what sustainable cities is all about.
Okay, so to understand sustainable cities, I think the best way to see it is to imagine what will the city look like, what will the nation look like when you're done. And there's an architect a Ugandan architect who works in Ghana, who asks a very important question: whose utopia is it anyway? So in most of the construction, most of what we build today is adopted a lot from European standards, because that's who set the standard, and that's what was easier to adopt. But it's with sustainable cities, we first have to ask, us as a nation and us as Kenyans as a people, what utopia makes sense for us. And so it begins by first understanding what we really care about and being able to move with the entire group. So as we're also running a program called Rent-Free Living. What we've realized is ownership in this city is at 8.1% of the Nairobians actually live in homes they own. So that's less than one in every 10 people. So we are trying to wonder, how can you live in a city where a tenth of them actually own property and can afford to live in the city? That's definitely not sustainable. So sustainability is finding out how can we create an environment that suits everybody that caters to everyone that lives in it. So Nairobi also has a very high dependency on cars, which means you have to buy a car that's about 1 million to move around the city. Now that will have been money that will have otherwise used to educate your children or possibly just even own your own home. But now, because of lack of sustainable transport systems, we haven't plugged that in. So those are some of the issues. Now the vision of what will happen is why I like the Ugandan architect's point of view is in her design she realized that the market women really need to take care of their children, because they're as much as being their own breadwinners, they're also they're the people who take care of their children. So what she did is she incorporated some sort of nurseries within the normal market spaces. And all of a sudden, now because the children are playing there, it became the cleanest market possible. So that's what it entails. It meeting people's actual needs. And you'll notice some of these problems that we are really complaining about will be eliminated. Under sustainable transport, the University of Nairobi under the Transport Urban Mobility Initiative, to me, is actually funding people and startups that have anything that can help reduce traffic or allow people to move around. They're funding them to be able to explore and to develop the ideas. It's an accelerator under C4D. You can easily apply. So it's about taking initiative, and it's about taking initiative to solve people's actual needs. So once we have that, now the sustainable community, you'll notice the way we build and the environment we have will be a lot aligned, and so many issues like crime, traffic, water scarcity will be resolved simply because we started with people at the center.
So Andrew, you're talking about sustainable cities, and you talked about transport and housing. So the other thing that we can't ignore is pollution, which again, we know Kenya is one of the pioneers. I don't know if we could call ourselves the pioneers, but we are one of the countries that have legislated one of the biggest bans on plastic bans. By the way, it's so big. I just didn't realize until the Blue Conference and there was a session where countries were actually coming to learn on how this works. And I know NEMA has said there's been an 80% success, which actually I believe it's true, because if you go around even to the normal shopkeeper, for me in my estate, we actually don't have plastic bags. The only places actually I see plastic bags is just around my workplace, and that's for guys who sell sugarcane. And I asked that guy actually the other day, wewe mbona bado unatumia makaratasi? Unajua utafanya nishikwe, because like right now it's too hot and we have to buy sugarcane. I was like, we have tried everything, even though they are bags, but they don't work. The moment tutapata kitu ingine, then we will move. So let's talk about the issue of pollution. Right now we don't have the paper pollution, but we have the plastic bottle. And one thing I'm grateful for at IBIS, like right now they've moved from the plastic water bottles to the glass bottle, which is you can easily recycle. And so thank you IBIS Hotel
Plus
for
it's very
upholding.
pretty.
Yeah, and
You can use
elegant.
it for something else.
Exactly. So this one, sometimes you don't even finish, so that you can just walk out of the restaurant with it, and you can go home and put a rose inside.
Yeah, you can repurpose it for a flower vase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about pollution. How do we get to deal with this? And especially the issue about littering, which is one of the things that continues to bring that and garbage in our cities. I like that in places like the CBD, it's not easy to see people littering because we've had this culture of dustbins. I know in the next step, I'm going to find a dustbin where I'll throw my litter, so I'll carry it. But just go to Odeon. You can't come across any dustbin. So sometimes I don't blame people. You just find yourself littering. So how is there a place for that? And what are your recommendations now that you're in this space? How can we deal with this?
So pollution is of course is a major issue for any city, any country. So we are not any different. I think the main way that you can solve the issue of pollution sustainably is just simply by making sure that people see the value in waste. And the programs have actually paid people for their waste and shown that waste can actually produce other things, have been very successful in reducing any type of pollution. So for example, if we move to the glass bottles, glass has a very high recyclability rate. So that allows you that you're not going to throw a glass bottle because you could actually, that's money. So even if you throw it away, somebody will pick it up and it will make sure it reaches a recycling center because there's value in that.
Yeah.
That's now unlike plastic, which currently cannot be recycled to that efficiency. And there are all sorts of programs that have been implemented. There's a city in Brazil that I might not remember the name. I think I'll put it in the link. But they had the mayor was an architect and was very passionate about sustainability. So incorporated a program where the marginalized societies in the formal settlements there were given food in exchange for waste. So it was just a matter of, can you go around picking up the litter that they have, and now in exchange for that they got food. So eventually they solved that issue, but the greatest solution is what the government is trying to do right now: just eliminate the source. So if we don't have plastic bags, then we don't have an issue of having to collect them, so we don't have a pollution issue. And most of the pollution that we have right now can easily be adapted to have alternative uses. There are several experiments around the world. I know India is pioneering edible cardboard. Edible cardboard. So it's a chemical they put to the normal cardboard that you have, and it makes it edible. So that's with the technology that we have right now, finding a useful thing for waste, because waste, it's only us who call it that. Really, if what is waste to us is actually a very good byproduct or for another whole process. So it's about implementing all those stages. And just as Anne is trying with the trees, you just try with whatever tree that works, see what the policies that can be adopted, you continue with them. The things that fade, that do not return, you kind of fade them off. And that's how we start moving towards a better future.
So, Andrew, I don't know, I'm just amazed. He has so much wisdom as far as, his field is concerned. And it reminds me that I read an article, I think a month ago, in the newspapers, and it was to the tune of Kenya is not utilizing, if there are professionals that are underutilizing the country, are engineers. Is that something that you believe?
Okay, for the engineering, there's some politics, or there's a whole dynamic working with the engineering sector, because most of the engineers that get trained, for example, in my class we graduated last year to 150. In terms of the number of engineers who get registered, because there's a registration board that registers maybe 10 or 20 or 30 every year. So there's a gap. There are many engineers who got trained but did not end up with being engineers. But that's not to say that they aren't applying. Engineering is about solving problems in the community.
Yeah.
So many people get absorbed into the financial sector. Some people go into the NGO sector. And as long as, for me, it might not be the technical engineering that we are told about, brick and mortar, but as long as you're using your scientific mind and data analysis to solve problems, then that's engineering. So I know it's an ongoing conversation. I think we'll need to see how it goes, but that's currently where we are.
Okay, so maybe as we close, we've been talking about sustainability. So maybe Anne can just define to us what does it mean when we talk about the sustainable blue economy, sustainable development for all. What is this sustainability really?
So sustainability in simple words, it means using the resources that are available right now to solve the problems of the people who are there right now, the current generation, keeping in mind that the same resources will be used to solve the problems of 20 generations from now. So how we use them right now, whether sustainably or not, means whether we are thinking of the future. Will these resources that we have right now, will the future enjoy them? So using the resources in a way that we are putting in mind the future generations, how they will be able to use the same resources that we have. Because we know in this world, most of the resources are very limited.
Yes.
We have renewable resources and we have non-renewable.
Yeah.
And the non-renewable are the most.
Yes.
And the renewable are also threatened because when we say like forests, we can say they're renewable because you can cut down a whole forest, come and plant another whole forest.
Yes.
But the duration that it takes for you to regenerate such a resource, for someone to be able to use it in the near future, makes them non-renewable in that sense. So when we are talking about sustainable economy, sustainable cities, sustainable environment, basically what it means is being able to use the resources that we have right now to make things more efficient for us and also more efficient for the future generations, and that let's say the economy is able to run on its own, not compromising the development of the economy, and also not compromising the ecosystem itself. So creating that sort of balance is where we are finding quite a problem right now. Getting that balance, but we are getting there.
Wow, guys, I don't know about you, but I am so inspired. I've learned so much from these two brilliant minds right here. I mean, Kenya enyewe, we are gifted with amazing, brilliant young people. I want to know your views, what you feel about this conversation. Please share your views, any questions you have, any comments in the description box, and we'll get back to you. If you'd like to see Andrew and Anne maybe talk through another topic on Voice It, please share what you'd like them to discuss, and I'll definitely bring them back. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and join us next time on this same set. And as always, Team Voice It Squad.